Hey guys, Mr. West here. Listen, when we lie to ourselves, or we lie to anybody else, we make ourselves thieves. Now, do you respect a thief? Have you ever said in your life, if it's one thing I hate, it's a thief? Well, it's my personal belief that every time you lie to yourself, you make yourself a thief. And you steal from yourself. You know, every time you go back to a job that you just thoroughly hate, and you tell yourself that, you know, this is the best that you can get, or you go back to a relationship, you know, you keep coming home every single day to someone, and you don't know what version of them you're going to get. What if you stopped lying to yourself, and you didn't wait until you were just completely fed up, and you just started looking at your options and seeing what would be best for you? You know, I think that when we lie to ourselves, we steal all of the potential and the opportunities that would be if we didn't limit ourselves or settle. I was an alcoholic most of my life, and I've lied to myself so many times and in so many different ways. Truth be told, most of my life and the way that I conducted myself as a man was a lie. I used to think that you were a man if you never backed down from any confrontation, and you were more aggressive than the other man, and you were meaner, or you weren't a man if you weren't willing to break yourself in order to get something done, in order to get a job accomplished or some sort of task taken care of. When I was a kid, I used to watch these cartoons of Jesus, and I always wanted to know that man. In comparison to the men in my life, especially my father, he was just completely different. You could tell by watching the way that he was portrayed, Jesus, that he was a man of authority and he had power, but he was kind. I don't think that he lied to himself. You can almost always tell a person who doesn't lie to themselves by the way they carry themselves. They're not necessarily seeking approval. Normally, the things that they say or do are for a purpose, and it's not usually to appease other people. You know, it has a specific function, whatever that person has in mind. You know, and when a person is being true to themselves, they're not wasting a bunch of time. That's another way that you rob yourself and you become a thief. You steal time from yourself and from other people. You know, when you're in a bad relationship or you're in a terrible job or just a shit environment, right? You do reach that point in time where you're just like, I'm not going to be in this bullshit another minute, not even another second, right? And you just make a decision and you change. And what I want to encourage you to do and myself to do is just skip straight to that part. You know, when you start to really feel that this is no good for you, you know, there are other people out there. If you're in a relationship with someone and they mistreat you, or, you know, they just treat you like your ideas are always stupid, or you're just kind of a burden, but they still tell you that they love you, I can see why you would try to stick it out. I don't know who you are, but like for me, I have a hard time just giving up on things. And it comes a lot from when I was younger. You know, we were taught to just never give up, but I wasn't taught to know when to walk away. So if you're taught to just never give up and never give up, and you stay in things that are no good for you, you are lying to yourself. You would be much better off doing something that made you happy and it wasn't wasting your time. And like I said, eventually you're going to reach that point anyways where you just say fuck it and you make the change anyways. You know, and it kind of sucks because I didn't really even develop this part of me fully where I'm okay with walking away from things and people until I was like 41, where I am right now. And it didn't really fully develop in me until I decided to quit drinking and stop lying to myself about, oh, I need it to help me sleep. No, I don't. It was going to be rough sleeping for a few days. That's all it was. And I developed a different habit to help me sleep. Warm milk still works. Doing a workout or something in the evening time still works. Watching something completely fucking boring still works. Having a conversation with someone about how you're feeling still works. You know, we lie to ourselves because we don't explore our opportunities, our options. We don't explore our options. One of my favorite things to do with someone, I'll use my fiance as an example. She's always been a fairly timid person. She's really kind, but she's always kind of just accepted just how people treat her. You know, she's kind of always just kind of accepted just whatever she gets. And she doesn't want no problems with nobody. She wants no confrontation. She doesn't, you know, she just wants to be left alone for the most part. And in an ideal world, that would be cool. You know, people should just be able to be treated how they want to be treated. But it's just not how life is, right? So one of my favorite things is helping her to remember her options. Like before we got together, she was a single mom and doing everything all on her own. And I was a single dad doing things on my own. And when you come together and you have two people that can help each other and they're on the same page and things like that, you know, you get to see the other person kind of see the other options that they have. And you kind of see them step into their power a little bit. And you also get to see them rest a little bit in areas where they didn't get to before, you know. And I wouldn't necessarily say that she was lying to herself about her options. I just don't know that she seen herself as powerful. And that's another thing, you know, like the way that you see yourself is going to be the way that you see the options and the way that you see the world. You know, that's going to be your filter. And for me, when I stopped lying to myself and I started making choices that were good for me, and I just stopped with like the excuses of why I drank, or why I used to get so angry and like pop off at people, or why I kept going back to a relationship that was just bullshit to me. I mean, the person was really fucking cruel, and it was for no reason. And I learned a long time ago, because I started my own company and stuff like that, but I learned a long time ago not to continue to go to a job that doesn't appreciate me. It's kind of funny. I learned how to not go to a job that doesn't appreciate me before I learned not to go to a relationship that doesn't that's no good for me, or before I learned to stop putting poison inside of my. I don't know what this motion was. That was me drinking a drink, but putting poison inside of me, um, and telling myself that it made me feel better. Or when I smoked cigarettes, same thing. Oh, we have to learn how to expand our identities. That's the real thing. Grow from. We need to learn to grow from where we are to where we want to go. But you can't lie to yourself about why it is that you do the things that you do, if at all you do want to go somewhere else. And like for me, I'm in the place in my life where I've wanted to be for a really long time, and that's just at peace. I am at such peace these days, and it's just because I stopped lying to myself. I stopped, thinking that I needed to go out at night and go drinking and partying and stuff. And I was having trouble sleeping, so I needed all these, things to help me sleep. And then I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd be tired, and so I feel like I needed coffee, and I needed to have, just all this time to get ready and stuff like that. And it wasn't necessarily that I needed those things. It's just the thing that I was doing before was making the next thing harder, and then it was making the next thing harder. And I never needed the coffee. I've always been an energetic person. I've never needed the things that I've told myself that I've needed. Honestly, the older I get, the more I realize I don't really need anything. Other than my basic human needs, I need to drink water, I need to eat some food, I need to, get out here in the sunshine and spend the time with the Lord in the morning, and, connect with people. I need to build. I need to not do the things that deconstruct, and wasting your time lying to yourself, I think would be in that category, and it makes you a thief. And again, my original question, do you respect a thief? I would say that if you are lying to yourself, you're walking around and you're carrying around this disrespect for yourself. And it's like in your body. And I feel like we carry it around. I know that I'm so much lighter just in my whole being, because I just stopped making excuses, and I just buckled down for the short period of time that was needed, the uncomfortable time. And it's just breaking ground. If you're going to build anything, you got to break the ground, but you don't spend the whole time breaking the ground. You spend the right amount of time breaking the ground, and then you start to build your foundation and then your structure, and then you start adding the stuff on the outside and everything. I say, if you're living a life that's not serving you, or you're surrounded by people who are not serving you in a healthy way, part of breaking the ground is just kind of just separating yourself from those people, clearing out the space so that you can put something there that is actually worth it to you and that would actually benefit you. But you're worth it. That's the thing. You got to remember, you got to start somewhere. You got to remember that you're worth doing these things for, so that you can even get started in the first place. But I would say that you got to stop lying to yourself. I know I needed to stop lying to myself. Anyhow, I appreciate you listening. You guys have a great rest of your day on purpose. Okay, God bless you. I'm out of here.